Hello and welcome back to the OMG MotoGP podcast. Your extra dose of MotoGP content throughout the week. But there's no race weekend to look forward to this week. But Keith Ewan and myself, Harry Benjamin, are still very much here. Thank you for all your comments and emails so far. Keep them coming in and we will get to all of them eventually, I promise, at OMG MotoGP on social media. And you can email us. It's omgmotogp@gmail.com. Now, just to start with, there was a little bit of rumour, a little bit of speculation this week in between when we recorded the last show and this show. We were talking, of course, about Jorge Martin, how he's developed as a rider. He's come across very well this season, of course, very much still in that title fight. But last year, he was sort of parred off for the factory seat in place where Enea Bastianini stepped up. Not really been Bastianini's season with injury. Bit of rumour swirling around. Could Ducati promote Jorge Martin?
What goes around comes around, doesn't it, in our game? It can be changed, whatever happens. That kind of speculation, yeah, of course, people are going to be looking at it. It's fluid at the end of the day. This game is fluid, and they've got all the cards at the moment. They've got everything stacked in their favour, Ducati. They know what they're at. And this point in the season is the last time they get a chance for real analysis for so many things. On-track analysis. I mentioned how it looked like to me that Bagnaia's bike, his demeanour on the bike, it just looks a bit skitterish compared with the likes of Jorge Martin, who looks rock solid planted. All the data guys are going to be looking at that at the moment. And really, Sepang, the next round, what do we got? Sepang on November the 12th for the main race. That's a known quantity, really. Sepang is going to be one of those races where, they're pretty much going to be up to speed, I would think. Then though, we've got a lottery. We go to Doha, track that's been resurfaced. The entire infrastructure has been messed around with there for the Formula One earlier on. That's why we're so late in the season with MotoGP there. There's going to be things that are changed there. I seem to remember from Formula One that maybe the track surface was not, it was a bit lower grip than what they were expecting. That might have been the case anyway for the bikes. I don't know. I can't make a comment on that. But quite a lot to look forward to there that may just put a spanner in the works. And then we go to Valencia. And really, if you get to Valencia and you're fighting for a championship, I can't think of a worse nightmare in my bloody repertoire of nightmares. That is for sure. Because it could be cold, could be raining. It's a one-line racetrack. You use certain parts of the tyre, for most of the track, and then all of a sudden you flick it on the other side and down on your knee you go, and the front tucks under, and away you go. And there are so many bad things that can happen in Valencia to title contenders that it won't be over until the flag's out. That is an absolute fact. I don't know. Speculation. Ducati have the rights to do what they want to do. Bastianini's not in a great position at the moment, so they might well decide to do that. And it depends. Jorge Martin could be in the driving seat on what, in more ways than one, at the end of this season. Could be a satellite, team championship winner and so on and so forth. Certainly at the moment, he's looking very, very good. It might be Bagnaia that has the points advantage at this moment in time, but Bagnaia was a little bit lucky at the weekend that Binder just touched the old green paint, didn't he, and relinquished that second place. So 4 more points going the way of Bagnaia. But, we'll see. But my nerves would be jangling if I was teams and riders at this particular point. Although you couldn't guess it, could you? Because they're all down. They've all been down in Bali and sunning themselves, which you would do if you could. Get some time off, get some sun into those muscles, and be ready for the final 3-round onslaught.
It is really going to be an onslaught, isn't it? You mentioned Qatar there. We are going to be having a special guest in a couple of weeks' time to look specifically at tracks and how they are designed, particularly for two-wheel racing and how they come together. So that's going to be coming up before the end of the season. So really looking forward to that one. And of course, in next week's Extra, we'll gear up properly for Sepang. Now, off the back of last Tuesday's show, so yesterday's show, or whenever we did, I lose track of the time. Keith gave us all some homework to do, to read an article by a man called Dario DeWet, all about Dorna and really the idea of, are they gearing up to sell, and why is MotoGP struggling for popularity at the moment? And we've dived into lots of various discussion, but I read the article, Keith, and it is really interesting. I mean, we spoke a lot about it and the points made, and a lot of people got in touch as well. The idea of coming back to KTM wanting more bikes on the grid this year, and that was stopped by Dorna, really, because then it would become a purely European or mainly European series, and that's the last thing Dorna want. They do not want to alienate the Japanese manufacturers, especially having lost one already in the form of Suzuki. So that was a really interesting point. But a lot of people commenting on our YouTube video also saying, at the end of the day, in terms of popularity, motorbike people, motorcyclists, they are the ones who watch motorbike racing. That's the appeal. It's a niche market, and it's very difficult to kind of promote that further afield.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I think that's a theme that we've all been banging on about. But there's a guy, if you look at the comments that came in after the last one, Ari, I don't know whether you worked your way down through it. There's a fellow called Peter Hardy, 4517, who came in with a very long and considered reply to that. And I like the way he was going. You know, the fact is Dorna, are they looking at it internationally enough? You know, there were other comments there in the comments that said, you know, along the lines of there we are banging on about how hot it is in Thailand. Well, yeah, it is in that part of the world. You know, we're a bit too European centric, perhaps, regarding our thought processes when the marketplace is bigger elsewhere, perhaps. So there's a lot of very well thought out, considered arguments from different people that are much cleverer than me. I read something else that made me smile this morning, because it probably applies to me. I should probably have a necklace or something made of it, since I'm from Essex. Never underestimate the stupidity of someone who thinks they are really smart. I love that. So you probably could apply that to me. I don't know, but the fact is that there are so many more elements to this. I praise Dorna. And I probably praise Dorna for their compassion during the pandemic in the way that they funded so many Moto3 and Moto2 teams to stop them from going out of busy. I praise Dorna for their rules packages that have brought us to the point where we've got 1 second covering 21 motorcycles on a racetrack, with all the different configurations that there are involved in the rules and across the manufacturers. So that's where my praise for Dorna goes. Now, whether in the wider picture, Dorna are missing a trick on many fronts, one of them being the good old ride to survive, drive to survive type comparables that we should have been better at. Maybe our international outlook is not quite as international as it seems to be. There may be tricks being missed around the world that are holding back MotoGP when it comes to demographics, when it comes to the size of the audience, the demographic of the audience, the age of the audience, the makeup of the audience. World Superbikes have just introduced with Yamaha back in the R7s are going out on track with a female race series. I refer, before I get called an old misogynist or something along those lines, I refer any arguments regarding equality there to the likes of the lovely Jenny Tinmouth, who was very, very eloquent, I thought, in a very humble manner, about, do you produce a series just for one class of rider, in other words, a female in that situation, and is your aspiration to just be the top of that particular class, not to be the top of the class, which is including the blokes? I would suggest that most racing people that I know, male or female, would want to kick the arse of everybody out there, not just their own gender. So it's kind of, there are so many elements that are on the move at the moment. We're in for an exciting few years, I feel, as this all pans out. That's providing we don't blow each other up with a war or something at some stage.
Oh, God, don't say that. Well, I think a lot of people surprisingly agreeing with you, Keith, on the comments.
Well, it's common sense, Harry.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think that this is where, again, our viewing public are treated with no common sense when they do have common sense. The people that don't write in are usually the ones that are, they understand. It makes sense to people that, you go, well, why isn't it like that? It's a strange thing, really. Common sense is something that we all have, but not very many people exercise quite as well as they perhaps should do. And rule makers and people that are running governments and motorcycle race meetings don't seem to have any common sense. They don't seem to be heading in the way that you would think would be the right way. Even if you want to be on the extremes of some kind of radical thinking, in the middle is a majority of common sense people, it would seem. And really, when I look at the comments, I feel stupid sometimes. I look at our comments and I think, God, the guy who wrote that, he's smart, or the lady who wrote it is really smart. They've come up with a really good angle on that. Why didn't I think of that? And that can be translated across to why are not the hierarchy at Dorna thinking of that? Maybe they are. Maybe it's dismissed for another reason. We get people that that write into us sometimes that I'm amazed at. Livio Supo the other day had been watching the OMG podcast and had made comments on it with one of our guests, Stuart Higgs. There are a lot of very clever people out there at the moment, but politically it's very difficult to move things into an area that the majority in that organisation perhaps don't want to go to. Maybe they like 4 races in Spain and 1 in Portugal because it's nice and close to where they live. I don't know. But things do need to change, and they need to change to promote our sport further. They have got it, Dorna have got it in a great position regarding the rules for the motorcycles and what's going on. It's an exciting spectacle. It beats everything else in the world, and yet it's still not quite rating where it really ought to. The simplistic answer, again, rattling on like I do, is that, well, motorcyclists, they're a minority, it's a niche sport and all the rest of it. Yes, it is. But that doesn't mean that we can't change that to a certain extent, and that's what should be aimed at, not the negativity of the fact it is a niche sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, everybody who got in touch. I mean, keep them coming. We read them. You never know who else might read them as well. So thank you. And that is an ongoing conversation we will keep on having. But look, we had loads of questions come in, and so I want to try and get through a couple of them. We've got a few minutes left of this extra show. Brad on email has a question, and I don't know the answer to this. I'm hoping you do, Keith. What happens, if anything, to or for a satellite team if they win a world title? Thank you. I love the show, and I'm a new MotoGP fan.
Well, there ain't going to be any more factory bikes out. They're all factory bikes anyway. At the end of the day, it's just a degree of factory.
Well, I think, yeah,
it's a degree of factory. I mean, is Marc Marquez, when he joins Gresini, which is basically the lower end of the factory Ducati thing, is he going to be on a lower end factory Ducati? Of course, he bloody well ain't. There's no way that Ducati are going to screw him over with a low level. And we heard before. I can't remember who said it now. Might have been Frankie Carcetti. Who said it again? I can't remember because it was in passing. But like in the contract of one of the riders from a satellite team, part of their deal was that they made sure that they had the same number of data engineers as the main factory team guys did, because that's where it's all done now. So if the factory team guy's got 5 data engineers, then the guy in the satellite team had made sure in his contract that he had got 5 data engineers, because that's where it's all done nowadays. So there's a lot. The stuff that's going on behind the scenes now. They share information more. It's a more integrated push forward for everyone. So, there's very little difference between being a factory rider now and a satellite factory rider. It's very close. I mean, from a personal point of view, I'd quite like to be in Pramac rather than have all them red bosses wandering around, poking and looking. And, Bastianini's been under pressure. He's got Giabatti looking at him from every angle, and Davide Todozzi that looks a bit angry now and again. It's not going really the way the factory want it at the moment. And they're under pressure from Pramac.
They are. Well, thank you for that question. And on that, actually, Michael asks, Keith, do you miss the underdog being able to go up against works machines, i.e. Kim Newcomb with a Koenig boat engine and winning, or like the Hesketh with James Hunt in Formula One? Now, there's a diehard fan for you right there, Michael.
Kim Newcomb, Love, Loss, Speed, I think it is, the film that's out there, made by a New Zealander. It was made by a New Zealand film company. I always get on the film thing, don't I? And there's a book out as well. It's about a guy basically that the good old ACU, as it was here in the UK, fella called Vernon Cooper and his cohorts of the time, that wouldn't put more straw bales out at Silverstone, and Kim Newcomb was killed. But he was very fast, and the Koenig motor that you mentioned was an absolute screamer back in the day. I mean, they managed to make this thing work. Wonderful story, but of course, a loss of a life again through the old oppressive regimes of circuit promoters and circuit owners and organisers that didn't care enough for the riders and wouldn't spend an extra 50p a bale or whatever it was on a bale of straw. Yes. Is the answer to the question. I do miss that. I do miss the fact that you can't turn up anymore with your tatty old transit van and wheel out your 350 TZ Yamaha and potentially finish in the top half dozen of the Grand Prix. It's never going to happen again. It was old school club racing. We were having this conversation down the pub the other day. Club racing, national racing, international racing, Grand Prix racing is how it used to go. There are no international racing really anymore like there used to be. There used to be a whole load of international races around the world that you could go to that you earned your money from. They were the things like Schwanenstadt or wherever it might have been, loads in Holland, Belgium, France, all all quite close, that you made really good money from, because you didn't make much money out of Grand Prix back in the day. You do now. Club and national races, they're where we are with BSB and domestic championships and the like. But that if you're going to go MotoGP racing now, or you're going to go Grand Prix racing, I should say, out of the three classes, Moto3, Moto2 and MotoGP, you need to be in Spain, or you need to, there is the ladder really starts and ends in the CEV series, the Junior World Championships and the like over in Spain. So you need money. So yes, I miss the old school way, but it will never come back. We are where we are, and there are a lot more competitive people now than there was. Back in the day, you would come across half a dozen competitive people during the course of the year, and the rest were amateurs who were having good fun. And people like me that were somewhere in the middle of that could do well in Grand Prix and do well in national stuff, but didn't have any funding, was really a true privateer most of their life. They're all gone. You don't have that anymore. It's a self-funded situation. Come through CEV or CIV if you prefer in Italy. And the like. What really grieves me is that we go on about things in this country. If we talk about UK again, sorry for the rest of you around the world, but I'm sure you've got your own problems regarding that. Is that there isn't really any impetus, despite what people say. I did a bit of Silverstone bashing. By the way, MotoGP tickets are out for Silverstone. You can pre-order them and get them at the right kind of money should you want to. They're out now. Silverstone's lack of effort when it comes to the mini moto track and the like. We're going to have to get Stuart Pringle back on and put his toes to the fire a bit regarding this, because he did say to me that they'd be looking at doing a mini moto track. They've got a kart track there that's absolutely suitable, or will be, but then they push back against the bike angle on that. And I've heard lately that the track day situation for bikes is been discontinued at the moment because someone's bought up a load of filming days and they've taken away the track day options or something that I'm hearing for the future. Now, that's a rumour, so that's yet to be borne out. But it just goes to show, doesn't it? Silverstone, they don't really do enough regarding bikes. Anyway, that side of it. There is not going to be any club racers that are going to pull up at the fence at a Grand Prix and blag their way onto the track like we used to be able to do.
Like the good old days. But that is the thing, as beautiful as some of those stories were now, and you look at the grids and how tight and competitive it is, that is fantastic. P20 can be a couple of tenths off P1.
They're proper athletes. They're on proper factory bikes. It's where it should be for the pinnacle of motorcycle racing. It can't be the way it was because it was amateur. As much as we liked it and as much as it was quite good fun and all the rest of it, it was, and it had massive crowds, so it obviously was popular. It can't be like that anymore. We are a pro sport. It can't be that we have grass at the side of the track to keep them from track limits. It can't be that way anymore. We can't have gravel. We can't have catch fencing. We can't have, stuff that makes it cheaper and easier for promoters and circuit owners. It's got to be the pinnacle.
All right. Well, we're out of time.
Well, let's just mention the FIM Awards coming to the UK for the first time ever up at Liverpool. So there's full on 40-odd categories, I think there are, of bike racing awards, including obviously all the World Championships, up on the Albert Dock. I think the ACC Liverpool Convention Centre, for those of you that know anything about it. And it's in association with Motorcycle News, I noticed as well this morning. It was Motorcycle News, I think, where I read it. But I don't see anything for the fans. Kind of annoying. It looks like it's a big old jolly for the teams and obviously all the oi polloi. But I haven't yet noticed anything for any kind of fan interaction. You can log in, www.fim-moto.tv will be where you can watch it live. So if you want to watch the stream, it's a live stream, www.fim-moto.tv will be where you can watch it. But do you know what?
But have those things ever been for fans? Like I look at the FIA gala.
No.
It's never a fan thing. It's an industry award.
It absolutely is. But this is about our constitution should be more fan centric. I get slightly annoyed with the people that can get in the paddock sometimes. You think, where the bloody hell are all these people getting their passes from? It's all restricted. But I just believe that we should give more back. And I mean, if you just made 3 or 4 tables of 10 for some lucky competition winners across whatever it was or the like, the interaction with fans is important. or make them do something for it. Write something for their local paper, and if it's cool and everybody likes it, then yeah, you can come to the FIM Awards because you've given us some extra decent PR or something. I don't know, but it just seems to me that I'm not keen on elitism, although I do love travelling first class and business class.
I was going to say, surely you've got a ticket and you can snag us all a few extra for the FIM Awards.
Nah.
No. Oh, shocking.
Well, I haven't yet. Let's put it that way. And it's kind of one of them ones that, I'm really happy it's coming to the UK, but I think we should look to do more, and promote Grand Prix in the best possible light, in the best possible way. And the fans pay massive money. At the end of the day, let me tell you a quick story. It won't take more than a minute because I know that we're at the end of our time already. There used to be a bloke called Vic Wakeling, who was the managing director of Sky Television, Sky Sports and Sky News, as it happens. A grizzled old hack from the old school of journalism. And I was sat in his office one day. I must have been getting a bollocking or something because it's very rare that I used to be in his office. And one of the producers came in, one of the mamby-pamby producers came in, and he said, I've had this bloody punter that sent me a letter saying that he doesn't agree with this and doesn't agree with that. And I don't know what he was expecting, but Vic blew up. Multi-millionaire, head of the... He said, stop yourself right there, mate. I can't do his accent, so I won't. Stop yourself right there. That is a subscriber. That is someone who's paying money to take Sky Sports. Don't just dismiss what he's saying. Look into it. I think it was followed by "you twat," because he was he looked down both barrels when he was pulling the trigger. Vic Wakeling did. Sadly, no longer with us, and sadly greatly missed. His style of management I liked hugely. But I think that attitude is one that I think that many people could take. People are paying big money to subscribe for all sorts of things, paying big money to come to tracks. Their opinions still count. You can dismiss them if you think that it can't be done, but you shouldn't just dismiss them out of hand. It should be looked at and people should consider it, in my view.
No, very well said. Very well said. Well, thank you to our legions of fans and listeners for getting in touch. Please continue to do so. We'll get through more and more questions as we rattle towards the end of the season. The email address is omgmotogp@gmail.com, or you can tweet, Instagram, TikTok us. We're at OMG MotoGP on all the socials. We'll be back next week for some more MotoGP chat and beyond, and then another extra to look forward to the last few races of the season. My thanks to Keith Ewan. I've been Harry Benjamin. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.